1940s, and if it's stopped, if it's not happening, what event happened to cause it to stop? What decision, what agreement was signed where nations in America agreed to stop doing this? No such thing exists. Well, as I said, when you become aware of what's going on and your eyes wake up, you have to ask yourself, what can I do? You have a sense of responsibility. And one individual is Marvin Herndon, who is a scientist who also had an awakening. Marvin Herndon is an American interdisciplinary scientist who earned his BA degree in physics from the University of California. In other words, he's a very smart man. He also received his PhD degree in nuclear chemistry from Texas A&M University. For 3 years, Dr. Herndon was a postdoctoral apprentice to Hans E. Suess and Nobel laureate Harold C. Urey in geochemistry and cosmochemistry at the University of California, San Diego. This man really does know his stuff. He's the president and chief scientist of TransDigm Corporation in San Diego, California as well. Profiled in current biography along with Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, William H. Rehnquist, White House Chief of Staff Andrew Carr Jr., film director and screenwriter Sofia Coppola, and 13 others, dubbed a maverick geophysicist by the Washington Post, and armed with a unique knowledge of nature, of science, and the ways to make important discoveries passed down through generations of master scientists. Marvin Herndon's professional life as a technologist and as a scientist has been a step-by-step logical progression of understanding and discovery, uncovering deep-rooted mistakes in geophysics, in astrophysics, and in science management. The consequence has been discovering the strikingly different nature of the Earth and the universe, as well as providing experimental evidence that the main substance of chemtrails is coal fly ash, as described in world-class scientific journals and in his recent book, Herndon's Earth and the Dark Side of Science. Please welcome Mr. Herndon.
So formal. How about Marvin? Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president, was a man of few words, but they were always insightful and precise. At one point, before the Young Men's Lyceum in Springfield, Illinois, he said this: "At what point, then, is the approach of danger to be expected? I answer, if it ever reach us, it must spring up amongst us. It cannot come from abroad. If destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be the author and finisher." Now, 178 years later, I say this: the approach of danger is already at hand. The danger has indeed sprung up amongst us, and unless we act decisively, it will indeed be our finisher. Look up in the sky. Relentless spraying day after day into the air we breathe. Michael Murphy rightly asked the question, what are they spraying? What does the United States Air Force tell us about what is being sprayed? Quote, "There's no such thing as a chemtrail." And they go on to tell you that contrails, which is jet exhaust ice crystals, are harmless. When the government lies to you, what else do? You ask what is being sprayed, you get no answers from authorities, only silence or lies. Well, as a scientist, when I became aware of this near daily spraying in the blue skies over San Diego, I decided to discover for myself what is being sprayed. And I did, and I published that in 2 scientific articles in the peer-reviewed scientific literature. Now, my scientific training goes back a long way, and I've published in some of the world's most prestigious journals. And I will tell you this, the academic community has not been honest with you. The university professors have not been honest. They talk about geoengineering as if it's something that might be done in the future by putting substances high in the stratosphere. They ignore the fact that the military has for decades been doing geoengineering, not in the stratosphere, in the troposphere, which mixes with the air we breathe. And as I said, I took data that was available and made sense out of it from a scientific standpoint, essentially using chemical forensic techniques. So what is being sprayed? The evidence is that coal fly ash is the substance. Now when utilities burn coal, it forms two kinds of ash. The heavy ash settles out. The very finely divided ash that used to go up the smokestack, but is now trapped because it's a toxic nightmare, that's called coal fly ash. And that, I will tell you with great certainty, is what is being sprayed in the air above us. Experiments have shown that water leaches chemicals out of it, just like you put a tea bag in a cup of tea and the flavors, the chemicals comes out. Well, rain, water in the air takes toxins, chemicals out of coal fly ash. And that's what people are measuring. You hear reports of aluminum, barium, and strontium in rainwater. Those are some of the prominent elements. But also comes out are calcium and magnesium and sulfur and arsenic, chromium, thallium, mercury, and dozens more. I mean, this stuff is truly a toxic nightmare. Now well, there are a lot of problems with it, but one problem is the nano-size nature. It means we can breathe the particles, it can go through our skin, through our eyes. And when we inhale it, it goes deep into the lungs, where it stays, and our body's moisture extracts the toxins, which include heavy elements, radioactive elements, and aluminum in a chemically mobile form that's been linked to neurological diseases, autism, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, attention deficit disorder. Now, in normal times, if a foreign power were flying over this country, spreading coal fly ash, our military would shoot those planes down and we would have a declaration of war. Well, there is a war, and it's the war of the military against American people. And it's happening here, and it's happening in Europe, it's happening in Canada, it's happening in Australia, in New Zealand, and probably places I don't even know about. Abraham Lincoln was quite correct 178 years ago. This has arisen amongst us, and it is now for us to stop. So to our male politicians, I say this: stand up and behave like men. Demand a stop to this aerial spraying. Protect life, including the life of your own families, from this toxic menace. And to our female politicians, I say this: wake up. Remember, the primal responsibility of your gender is to give and protect life. Demand a stop to this slow pandemic, which is particularly heinous to pregnant women and the children they're carrying. It's heinous to children, to the elderly, and especially to those with compromised respiratory and immune systems. Do this so that, in Lincoln's words, this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth.